Ready? Sit. Sit. Give Mom a kiss. Yes. Give Mom a hug. Hug. Good.
So we are in a children's lab. What would normally happen in this room?
Well, I study the development of self-control in children. I study early development primarily, although I do research with the older children and adults. So I study how children develop in terms of their self-control, their ability to control their behavior, their ability to control their emotions, their ability to control their thoughts, their attention. There's a lot of research that suggests that early self-control predicts a lot of later life outcomes, such as health, education, job opportunities, a number of different behaviors, even flossing in adulthood is predicted by early self-control.
And I guess it's language that has led you to dogs.
That's right.
Because I think some people think dogs and children go hand in hand, and some people think they really don't.
Yeah, I think they are very different. I don't think dogs understand language in the same way babies learn to understand language. But comparing them helps us understand the development in both humans and in dogs. So by knowing a little bit more about language in dogs, we learn about child language and vice versa. So that's why I've been interested in doing some of this stuff with Catherine.
So, Catherine, why don't you tell me about what's going on now with the dogs? Tell me about this project, the current research.
So we've been looking at how owners report how their dogs respond to their spoken language. So our first study involved developing a survey, something that had not been done before, a survey that dog owners could use to report how many words they believe that their dog responds to consistently and reliably. And then we use that information to look at, as Sophie was saying, some of the potential predictors for learning language in dogs or responding to language, what some of the potential predictors could be of that. And then we're using that information again, how many words a dog might respond to explore self-control, like Sophie was saying, and how these two might be related in some way.
When people self-report that, do people think that their dogs know more words than they do? Oh, you
can go ahead. Yeah.
So when we started doing this work, there was no research measures for studying language in dogs. So there had been some researchers who'd studied very specific dogs, like the famous chaser dog, who was able to learn 1,000 nouns for her toys. But there was no systematic measure for learning, for establishing language abilities of dogs. But so as a developmental psychologist, I knew how we studied language in human babies who are preverbal. And one of the ways that's studied is you get parents to report how their children respond to specific words. Does your baby, if you say mom, does your baby look at you? If you say where's your bottle, does your baby pick it up? And the parents are really good at picking up on the consistency of those behaviors. And so we thought, well, if that's the case with parents, maybe dog owners are really good at picking up on their dog's consistency. So if you say sit your dog, does your dog typically sit? The most common word that dogs respond to is their name. Then it's sit. Then it's a few other basic training commands or requests like come, stay, lie down, and a few other ones that we see in everyday life. Do you want to go outside? And so dog owners have been really, really good at picking up on those similarities.
Now, you ended up in a study that Dalhousie is doing on how many words your dog recognizes.
Yeah.
What attracted you to being part of that? Or was this just like a random, that looks like fun?
It did, I think mostly it looked like fun. I'm really interested in dog training. I'm not an expert by any means, but I am have gotten into the world of dog training since we've had him, and I was sort of curious to see what the study would show me, and I think I was surprised when I did the study how many words I think he does know.
So how did you decide what words he knows?
So how did I decide to
because there's got to be a little bit of a, this is your feeling that he knows the word lamp or whatever. So.
Yeah. I think I asked myself if how could I confidently guarantee, or at least confidently 8 times out of 10 get a reaction out of him if I said a certain word. And
You did this very scientifically.
within my own brain, get a reaction out of him, and then I would click yes. But I also know with him that sometimes it's contextual or a word associated with a gesture he'll know better. But if I was pretty confident that I would get some sort of reaction with a particular word, I would say,
So
yeah.
purposeful.
I know. We were doing this one because I was trying to get some cooperative care with teeth brushing. Ready?
Oh.
Okay, chin.
Did it work?
Slow going. Chin. He was like, not so
Yeah,
much
we've done
right
that
now.
enough.
We've done it. I've done it enough times without getting a treat for it. Ready? Okay, chin. Come on, give it to me. There you go. Good boy. Yeah, good
So you got
boy.
a chin, but not quite the teeth brushing.
Not
yet?
quite the teeth brushing. Yeah.
Negative consequences are learned very quickly in
Oh, are they?
dogs.
Okay.
So if I hear that word and they say, last time I heard that word, something really bad happened, then they're going to respond quite differently.
So you must see a lot of that in the
Yeah.
work you do.
Yes, a lot, yeah. So we teach owners to be consistent in how they enunciate and how they say the words to their dogs when they're learning new skills. And we teach them, if you want this to work in different contexts, you need to say it in different contexts. If you want different people in the house to be able to ask the same behavior of your dog, they need to do the training as well, so that the dog learns to generalize. So they hear it from one person, it might sound slightly different from a second person. But if the consequence is always the same, if they say, well, last time I heard something that sounds similar to that, I sat and I got a reward for it, they're going to learn that when I hear it from this other person, the consequence is the same, I got a reward. Okay, so those two things that might sound slightly different because they're two different people still mean the same thing. They're still asking the same behavior from me.
What surprised you about this so far?
Probably the sheer number of words that people came up with. So on our survey, we also gave owners the opportunity to include words that we might not have included on the list. And some people reported their dogs knowing hundreds of words and filled in extra words because we didn't capture all the words that their dog knew or responded to. So that was quite surprising.
Lay down. Nope. Get up. Good girl.
So I'm going to guess that Ginger's name came from the color?
She was more ginger colored when she was a puppy, and then she was like,
ginger.
I'm gonna change on you.
Wait. Wait. Ah. 1, 2, 3.
So how did you hear about the spoken word study? Because you didn't go to Dell, so you don't really have a Dell connection, right?
No, I don't. I couldn't tell you. I came across it on social media probably, and I thought it was going to be a quick survey. It wasn't, but it was really interesting.
Researchers never
I
have
know.
quick surveys. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was going to be quicker than it was. But once I was into it, I kind of found it interesting, like how they laid out all the different words and commands and expectations that you could have, like verbally for a dog. And I started kind of thinking about it, and I was kind of counting along as I went for a little while to see what kind of, like how many roughly words she knows, and then I lost track because there's too many. I always say, when she learned her tricks a couple years ago, I always started saying like, her and I speak the same language, because people will tell me, can you train my dog? And I'm like, no, her and I speak the same language. Like another dog and I won't, and I can do a little bit with other dogs, but with her and I, she knows what I'm saying all the time. She does so well at understanding like so much of what I'm saying that it just makes my life so easy. Like I was watching a friend's dog for a week a couple months ago, and I really became grateful, because I haven't dog sat since I was a kid, but I really became grateful of the language that Ginger and I have, because I couldn't just say go and the dog would go in that direction or go to that spot. Like I had to like find other ways, and the dog was a great dog. She was really good. She was really good to listen. She was really happy. She was really calm, but she just didn't understand. Like it wasn't just like Ginger just knows to follow me, and if I say in, she knows to get in the car or go in the building, and Ginger just knows to she just knows the routine. She knows what the language means, even if it's out of context, but this other dog didn't. So I just became really grateful that, yeah, it's it works, and the only reason it works for her to come everywhere with me is because we have so much understanding, I guess.
You're now actually, you see some of these dogs, not in
Yeah.
this space, but outside.
That's right.
How does that work?
So we're measuring, so our initial interest was to look at language and how it predicts self-control in dogs, and if it predicts it in the same way it does with babies and older children. And so we are working with measures that researchers have used in the past to assess self-control in dogs, and seeing whether or not what the owners are reporting in terms of language is predicting how dogs behave on those self-control measures. All right.
So now we are in a dog agility center.
That's right. We
to
can
see how
hear
this
them in the
all
background.
Yeah, we can, yeah. So tell me what we're looking at.
So we're looking at what's called an incrementally difficult search task. So we're going to give a dog...
Only a scientist would come up with that.
Yes. Well, it means that as the dog searches, the task becomes more and more difficult.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
And at some point, most dogs start finding it too difficult, so that's when we stop. And then we can figure out how difficult the dog what difficulty level the dog made it to. This is a measure that was developed by Jean Piaget, a cognitive developmental psychologist. He developed this for measuring cognitive abilities in infants.
Oh, wow.
And because the infant's ability to search for things gives us a really good idea of how they're thinking. And when I do it with the dog, I'll show you why it's important and what abilities it allows us to measure in babies. Obviously, when we do it with babies, we do it with toys and we do it on a tabletop. With dogs, obviously, it's bigger and it's on the floor, and we use treats. So that's the difference, but it's the same idea.
So who is this?
This is Walker. He's 11 years old. He's my dog.
Has Walker done this before?
Years ago, before Catherine moved to Ireland, so that was in 2017, when we were testing it out. He was one of our first testers.
Oh, he's one of the test subjects.
Yeah.
All right. So what's going to happen here?
So first we're going to shape the response. So we're going to make him realize that he can search for treats. So we have to show him where everything is. And we also orient him to this so he's not afraid of it.
Okay.
So the first thing we do is we put one of the hiding locations out here, and we just give him a treat. Walker, look. There we go. So he knows there are treats to be had by me, so he's starting to look at me. And then we might put one in here. Some dogs find it difficult to put their nose in there, so it's scary. So we if they need more, like he doesn't, he's not scared
He's like,
at all.
put me another one.
Yeah, so he knows that treats can be found in there. Yes, buddy, I'll put another one in there. There we go. And then what we do is we bring him over to there, and then we, look, buddy, look. Walker, look. We'll put it there. And then we move this around. Some dogs get spooked by this moving. So we just move this around so the dog sees it can move. So, and we make sure when, there we go, he's moving it with his nose, that's fine. We put it in the middle so he doesn't get a preference for a side, but he looks like he's ready to go.
Now you have a sense of what words Spencer does perhaps know. Do you use them any differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely use them in the standard way when we ask him, when we want him to do something like sit, stay, wait, sort of thing. But we also have started to use them to give him an expectation of what's going on. Okay. And so, for example, we have a certain set of keywords that we use when we are going to leave him alone in the house. So if he sees us getting ready and we say something specific to him, he knows that he's going to stay and we're going to go. Whereas we can say something else and he knows he's coming with us. So we found that really useful to just give him an expectation of what's going to happen. Do you want to be on TV? What do you think? Could you be an actor?
So the first version of the game we do is we just put paper plates on top. And so that the dog can see it and knows to come and look for treats. Okay. So this is just for practice. It's typically easy for most dogs, although there's some dogs who won't come near us. I'm going to wait to make sure he's looking at me. Now Catherine's going to put her blindfold on so that she can't see which side I'm going to put it on.
So is her blindfold because the dog may be looking for cues from her as well?
Or she could inadvertently pull
Oh,
the
I
dog
see.
one side or another and give the dog a cue. So if she doesn't know where the treat is, she can't help the dog inadvertently. Walker, look, look. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. He can go. Where's the treat? Where's the treat? Good job, Walker, good job. Okay, go back.
Come here, Ben. Walker.
I presume he knows the standard words like sit and
Yeah.
stay, and
Yeah.
so we expect those. So
Yeah.
how many words did you end up with,
Oh, it was.
roughly?
I wish I could remember
A
the
lot.
exact. It was like 50 or
Oh,
something.
that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Were the ones that surprised you?
There were a few that surprised me, and a couple that were on the list, or that weren't on the list that I know he knows, or knows, I don't know what he knows exactly, but that can get
What
a
do you think he
reaction like
knows?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
So what? Like, give me an example.
Like the word adventure. See, you got a little.
Oh, the ears
yeah.
popped up.
Yeah. He knows that means we're gonna go do something.
So that's sort of like
Yeah.
the W word.
Yeah. Which he doesn't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Which he
okay.
doesn't know.
I would have
Yeah.
been safe saying that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So watching this, all the people who are dog owners will know exactly what the W word is, and everybody else will be like, "What's he
He won't.
talking about?" Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be just like Spencer.
Yeah.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi.
And what I noticed is there's like a big paper
Yep.
thing here, and that is to hide you.
Yes, because it turns out researchers have used this measure with dogs, and if dogs can see the hider, they do much better at finding the treats. And
So
there's
they're reading body language.
they're reading something. So maybe the hider is looking or leaning towards one side. There's something that gives the dogs some clues, and we don't
So
know
they're
what it is.
picking up on things that we may even not realize
Exactly,
we're doing.
yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So that's why we hide behind this screen. The other thing we do to make sure that they're relying on search cues is we put a treat in each side, and then we cover it up with holes in these.
Yep.
And there's holes as well on the sides, so that's so they can smell it, so they can't use their scent because there's scent on both sides. So we really want them to rely on their looking ability, not on their smelling ability.
All right.
So that's why we put a treat they can't
So both
access.
will smell like a treat.
Exactly. Look, look. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Our survey now has over 600 words
Oh, wow.
that we've included. Well, because now we've added words for herding dogs or words for seeing eye dogs, words that different breeds and different sports. So our list is huge now, but the number of words reported are about the same, even though we've increased a lot.
So this sounds like it varies by what the dog is involved in with, with their owner.
Yeah, yeah. The best predictor of the number of words is whether a dog is a service dog, if they have a professional training, and whether or not the breed is a very big predictor. So herding dogs that are bred to herd cattle and sheep seem to have the most words. They tend to be more action words. And companion dogs, dogs that are bred to interact with human beings, seem to have more nouns, so names of people, places, and things. And so we can predict some of that based on the breed, based on the training background. These seem to be our best predictors of the number of words the dogs know.
Sit. Lay down. Lay down. Roll over. Good girl.
One of the things that's coming out from the dog research is that despite being exposed to English, so if we're looking at English dogs, most of the words they know are verbs. Most of the words they respond to are verbs, so sit, come, stay. Babies, most of the early words they know are nouns. And English language is very noun heavy. And it's not the case for all babies. Babies who are raised in families with languages that are verb heavy, like Chinese languages or Korean, they're very verb heavy languages. And those babies tend to learn verbs first and more verbs.
Come here. Do a come. Yes. Sit. Paw. Other paw. Good girl. High five.
And so this is giving us a clue that maybe dogs are parsing their world in different, they're parsing their worlds based on action, whereas we're parsing them based on objects in our environment.
Sit. Lay down. Sad dog. Good sad dog.
It's certainly kind of cool to see science validate the idea that your dog can learn and understand human language in much the same way as young humans do. But the implications of the work Doctors Jacques and Reeve are doing could very well be significant in the training of service dogs.
So it costs between $30,000 and $50,000 to train a seeing eye dog, and one of the reasons for that is you lose so many because they're not making it through training. And what we're doing now is we're trying to measure over time by asking dog owners of every breed and of every age to report on the dog's language abilities at one point in development and on their self-control, and then do it again after 6 months and then after a year, so that we can trace whether or not early language predicts self-control or vice versa. And what we're hoping is that we can establish some sort of prediction rule that then CNI dog trainers might be able to see early on in the development of potential dogs to see which ones might be more likely to succeed. One of a recent study reported that they lose about 60% of the dogs, and most of them are lost in the last 6 months of training, so between 1.5 years and 2. And so they've invested a lot of time in these dogs, and many of them are not going to finish training. But if we could figure out earlier in development which dogs might have the most chance of success, they might be able to move dogs into different areas earlier. So those dogs that aren't successful at being seeing eye dog may be very good therapy dogs, or they may be very good, do other service jobs. And so you can probably change their path earlier and save a lot of time and money and investment in dogs that are unlikely to succeed in that specific role.
Why dogs? Because, I mean, you could be doing this with cats or horses or...
Yeah, so dogs interact with humans in such a huge variety of ways, including working professions. How can we predict whether a dog is going to be successful in training for a particular profession? The organizations that train them might start with 20 dogs and end up with 2 at the end. So if there's some way to be able to potentially predict some of their success in a profession of some kind, then that would be very, very useful for these organizations. So we're hoping that our research will contribute to that in some way by looking at if we can get a measure of how many words the dogs respond to. Does this then later predict their self-control and so on, which is, you know, skills that are really important in a lot of these professions.